All right, everybody. Welcome to an exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, with my partner, Sean Williams. Um, Tonight's it was a good day, for me at least, until about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I get the news that Eddie Van Halen, the author of a lot of the soundtrack of my high school and college years, passed away from throat cancer. And for me, it hurts a lot, not only to lose Eddie, but also it makes 4 years to the day that my former boss passed away from cancer of the esophagus. So it's once again, cancer's a bitch. It has no mercy. So, Sean,
I can speak to that.
I know you have some things to say, but real quick, I wanted to throw this out there. Because we talk about Van Halen and music so much on this show. There's two eras of Van Halen, of course, Van Halen and Van Hagar. I happen to like some of Van Hagar. The pop stuff got old, the keyboard heavy pop stuff, but at the same time, I can appreciate the musicianship behind it. But man, in 1991, the album For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge started with this.
Our sound guy's going to get fired.
Oh yeah. Could you hear any of that?
None.
None of it?
I didn't hear anything. But I do. I know what you're talking about, though.
Hang on, then. I should have known because it was on YouTube, but let me do this. Let's see if this will work. Now, why did you do that? Hang on here. Man, I tell you, I had this thing all queued up, and I should have known because it was going to go this way through my my headphones. I was only going to hear it on this way. So, okay. Yeah, here we go. Good. No ads. I'm impressed. All right. Let's try it this way at my phone. There you go. Terrible because it's through my phone.
Now, do you want to explain to them what this noise was?
That was a drill.
A cordless drill.
Yeah, a cordless drill that he used. And when you got that album, you realized that you weren't listening to the old keyboard heavy, how do I know when it's love stuff. That was Van Halen from this era. I don't know, just the light.
Two. All right.
Or this one.
Yeah.
Dive her down. This one, 1984.
Loved that album.
Yeah. And I'll even throw the Token Van Hagar album out, 5150.
Well, from what I understand, the 5150 was not written for Hagar. It was written, most of it anyway, was written for Roth to be a part of it. So, well, that's the reason that it wasn't nearly such a departure.
Yeah, and one of the funny things was, what the hell was his name? This guy's name. I don't remember his name anymore. Hang on, I'm pulling out the vinyl here. Not the producer.
Ted Templeton.
No, this isn't Ted Templeton who did this one. It was one of the Warner Brothers execs that walked in the room and listened to Why Can't This Be Love, which I think was the first release off of it,
It
because
was.
he wanted to see how Van Halen sounded with Sammy Hagar, and he heard it in the recording booth, and he said, "I smell money being printed,"
Yeah.
meaning they were going to be just fine. So,
Well,
yeah,
much like what you said, I agree that. Well, let me see. How do I say this? Van Halen changed the game in, what was it, like 76, 77, somewhere in there.
yeah. The
Uh,
first album I think came out actually in the height of disco.
yeah.
Let's see. Come on, man. 1979, I think it came out. Yeah, I want to say it came out in 79. I'm pulling out the vinyl again.
But anyway,
78.
yeah.
So the height of disco.
Yeah. They did things differently and on a much broader stage than what they made it a production. You had the rock star in David Lee Roth. You had the guitar virtuoso in Eddie Van Halen. You had the insane drummer in Alex, and you had the rock solid bottom line there with Michael Anthony. And much like you alluded to, I think when it comes to Van Halen, you've got two separate entities. There's the Van Halen and the Van Hagar, and each one have their redeeming qualities, and they stand just as well on their own separately as they do together as one
Absolutely.
historical thing. Eddie, man, Eddie took something that had heretofore only been done by, to my knowledge, I think Billy Gibbons was the first one to do the tap. But to do it the way that Eddie did it and to take it where it eventually went to, you can't classify him as anything but an originator. And his sound was unique. You could hear a song start and you knew right away that was Van Halen. My personal favorite, I think probably, well, before the 1984 album, I guess my favorite was In the Cradle of Rock, which I posted on my page a little while ago. And then came 1984 and Panama and Hot for Teacher. That was the soundtrack of my teenage years. Everybody thinks that 1984 meant jump. No, go listen to some more of it. Listen to Panama. Listen to Hot for Teacher and some of the other songs on there. Eddie, you changed the way that the game is being played. You are originator.
Real quick, one of the most popular songs of the early 80s, Michael Jackson's Beat It. That's Eddie
Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen, for a case of beer, did that guitar solo and took no credit for it. You know, and he had joked that if he knew then what he knew now, how famous that guitar, he would have asked for a lot more recognition and a lot more money for that.
A lot more beer.
Yeah, a lot more beer for sure.
Yeah. But, yeah, that I was going to actually bring that up. And they have karaoke here at Two Dudes on Saturday nights. And the other night, in between songs, the DJ played Beat It. And I was sitting there talking to a guy, and I said, "You know who that is playing that guitar?" And he said, "No." I said, "That's Eddie Van Halen." He said, "No way." I said, "Yep. I'll have to go look that up." I said, "I'm telling you, dude, that's who it is."
It's not it, and you won't find it on Thriller. It's not listed on Thriller. You just know it. I mean, you could tell by listening to it. Yeah, Calvin's listing some of the things. Running with the Devil. I mean, the very first one. That's the first Van Halen song I ever heard.
That's the first Van Halen song listed.
Yeah.
That's the very first song
And
of the very first album.
I can remember in it's probably 1980, 81, when I got into Van Halen and hearing that, don, 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 dun, 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 that whole intro, and then David Lee Roth just going off.
Yeah,
And, it just, you mentioned Michael Anthony before. Michael Anthony is probably the most underrated person of Van Halen.
by far.
Because not only was he a phenomenal bassist, but his background vocals.
Yeah,
When you
all those
listen
high
to,
background vocals that you hear on
yeah,
those songs, that's Michael Anthony.
when you hear, that running with the devil, and then, David Lee Roth is screaming, as they're singing this, and it just made that song
Yeah,
so much better. Now, I know people who saw Van Halen in concert. I know people who saw Van Hagar in concert. And they will both say that while David Lee Roth, in his assless chaps, jumping up in the air and stuff like that, put on a hell of a show, when it was Van Hagar, they sounded better in concert because you had a guitarist who could play when Eddie would go to the keyboards to play, like I'll Wait, the 1984 intro, Jump, and then of course the more pop stuff. But yeah, I have underrated songs in every one. I'll Wait from the 1984 album is a fantastic song.
yeah.
One other thing to mention real quick, all the little sounds he throws in there. I think it was his Ferrari that he used in Panama to get that. Wham! He'd rev his Ferrari up and they'd record that and they threw it in there.
Yep.
Yeah. This Anna's got one. Yeah, you really got me. The Kinks version. People don't even listen to that anymore. They go straight to the Van Halen. In fact, remember the Nissan commercial from? I'm gonna have to post this one. The Nissan commercial from the early '90s with GI Joe. It was right after Toy Story came out, the first Toy Story. The GI Joe figure comes down and gets in the it's supposed to be a Nissan 300, I think it is, or a Nissan car. And man, they crank up that. And he comes out there and takes off of Barbie's dream house, and Barbie comes out with her hair, big old 80s hair, the little slut dress on, and comes down the thing. He's out there with the car, like, come on in. And the very end of it, Ken with the sweater tied in a knot going here to David Lee Roth going, oh no, as they take off driving. It's a fantastic commercial. I love that commercial.
Is it to me? It's kind of disconcerting that the coolest stuff when we were teenagers, all the songs that were dangerous and they didn't want you messing with, that's now the soundtrack for selling stuff on TV.
Absolutely. It's hilarious. It's all, and I tell my kids this too, because my kids actually like, all my kids, except for my middle one. She's not too fond of it, but my oldest and youngest love the music I listen to, most of it. My son listens to a lot of the Van Halen, Def Leppard, that kind of stuff. He's been telling me how many Boston albums he's been listening to and stuff like that.
Great innovator himself there, Tom.
Oh yeah. Schultz. Absolutely. Another one was taken from us way too young. And my brother, of course, I've got these Van Halen albums. My brother's got the other ones. He's got a good stack of them too, including for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. But it's just the creativity, the rock and roll sound that was rebellious back then. You hear it in the grocery stores today.
Yeah.
So I tell them, I said, the music you're listening to today, one day you're going to be listening to Usher while you're at CVS or some drugstore or Lil Jon or whatever rapper is in style, Juvenile is gonna be blasting while you're in the elevator one day, and they're gonna go, "What's this old stuff? What am I listening to? What's this elevator music I'm listening to?"
I
So,
got to pay the bills real quick.
oh yes, absolutely.
We thank everybody for joining us. Alan and I, if it's not football, it's first on the list. It's followed very closely behind by music. So you guys indulge us on paying tribute to this guy. You can follow our show on iTunes and on YouTube, and you can follow our Facebook page, Under the Dome Podcast. I want to say a very special hello and welcome to some of our new listeners in Jackson, Mississippi. Patches, welcome to the show. And away we go.
Well, we jumped into that right away, and I really should have remembered this is really a football show more than anything else. But Jerry's bringing up Hot for Teacher. Since my
beginning, the intro for Hot for Teacher, that drum sound that sounds like a Top Fuel dragster.
Yep.
You should hear that in concert. You don't just hear it, you feel it right here.
Oh, and I was talking about Eruption. My nephew can play Eruption. The guitar solo before you really got me. Yes. My brother's mentioning OU812, cranking it out of my old Buick I had a Regal. Jamie's crying. The drum solo from James, that drum intro, dun, 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 and then that was lifted for
sample
Tone Loc, Wild Thing. If you listen to Wild Thing and then you listen to Jamie's Crying, you will hear the drums and that from Jamie's Crying that was lifted for that rap song. My brother's mentioning he played in my old Buick Regal I had, 87 Regal. He was cranking that up, OU812. I had 1984 blasting in my old Chevy truck with the Alpine system. That was a kick-ass system. Unchained, another good one. Intruder. It's funny, once again, music like this just transcends generations.
See, that's the thing.
Where we lived.
That's the thing for me. Everybody, especially back in the 80s, you were country, you were rock, you were heavy metal. You couldn't be in all of them. You had to have one. And I was never that way. I liked music, and if it's good music, I could get with it. I heard some country back then that was pretty innovative and pretty interesting. Now, not to offend anyone, but there's very little rap that I find socially redeeming, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, the issue with rap for me at least is I need some of it I can listen to and I like. Some of it I'm just like, it's boring. It's too much of the same beat.
Yeah.
Well,
I was never a big fan of rap. Now NWA with Eazy-E and Cube and Dre, the original. I developed. It got a little more interesting for me when I watched the movie Straight Outta Compton, and I've been able to listen to it now. But back then, I really didn't have that much interest in it.
Well, it's got to have more than a beat.
It's got to say something. I'm a songwriter, so the song has to say something to me for me to really be impressed.
And for me, and this is a theory I've always had. The music you listen to when you were 10, 11, 12 in high school, and even to some young adults, college, whatever, you associate it with memories and things that you did, things that were going on. So that music will always stick with you, and you're always going to be biased towards that music because, like, for example, Jackson Brown's "Got to Be Somebody's Baby," the song "Somebody's Baby." You can't,
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
exactly. You cannot listen to that song without going "Fast Times Ridgemont High." I mean, that's
Yeah.
what that is. That's "Fast Times Ridgemont High." Anyone who saw that in the theater thinks of that movie with that song.
Well,
And
wait a minute. We may have to explain to some of our viewers exactly what that phrase "seeing the movie in the theater," what that
yeah.
really means.
Well, we're not there yet. But yeah, I mean, and Calvin's mentioning Prince and Michael Jackson. I can remember where I was, what I was doing when I heard "Let's Go Crazy" by Prince.
Yes.
When
Yes.
that song
Yes.
came out, and just not only is he jamming on guitar, but at the end of that jam, you can hear the thunder of the
Mhm.
double bass drums and it just it's just going. And I'm like, this is an awesome song.
It's
The
one of
whole
the
time.
few songs that, if you listen to it closely at the very end, they have so much sound going into the ending of that.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
overwhelms the soundboard. You can hear the board kind of distort.
Yeah, and it's I have songs that I associate with memories all the time, and it's
Yeah.
Flock of Seagulls, Iran.
Man.
I will these artists and these songs. So when someone like Eddie Van Halen passes on, you're like, your own mortality is brought to you, of course. But it's
Yeah.
like that's a high school thing that's gone now. You realize how much time has passed. I mean, he was 65 years old. That's not old. Especially when you're at our age, that's not old. But I mean, yeah, so that element of mortality, and then you realize this album came out in 1978. It doesn't feel like it's been what, 42 years, 32 years, 32
Oh,
years since that album came out. you
yeah,
know yeah, right. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like, oh, that was just 10 years ago. I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't that long ago. So it's funny. When Jerry brought up "Hot for Teacher," that song I have to be careful with because not only is my wife a teacher, but she taught at Destrehan High School, which is the infamous school of uh, two teachers that slept with students and all that stuff. So, I listen to "Hot for Teacher" now. I'm like, yeah, that happened when I was in high school too.
Anyway,
Yes, let's get on.
Eddie, rest in peace, brother. You changed the world. You'll never be forgotten.
Absolutely.
There was a football game played Sunday. What? Wait. I want to do a rant here real quick.
Okay.
Cam Newton finds out he's got COVID. Oh Lord, we gotta postpone the game. One of the Saints tested positive. Y'all better get off the bus and get you some rest. You got to play tomorrow.
I thought that was a load of crap, honestly, because they could have moved that game to 3:00. Granted, Fox didn't have the doubleheader, but just don't show a game at noon. Show the afternoon game. Just like you do when you don't have doubleheader.
They have the right to flex any game that they choose.
Exactly. Calvin, that is true. Mine did too. I had in high school. In high school, we had one extremely attractive teacher who, for the senior faculty volleyball game, I might have told this story. Senior faculty volleyball game came out. Now, granted, this is 1983, probably 84. She came out in short white shorts, very tight, tucked in white polo style t-shirt, white Keds, white socks, little balls on the heel, to a gymnasium filled with about 1,300 adolescent males from the ages of 14 to 18. What do you think the response was to that?
Standing ovation.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it was that was that, and she knew what she was doing. That's all I
Yeah.
can say. But yeah, most of my teachers, when I had nuns that taught me, so I mean, it wasn't that kind of stuff happened to only a few kids that I knew in high school, and that was about it.
I'm not. I will not touch that subject matter. Anyway.
There we go.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying about that was a load of crap because that news came out
11 o'clock.
about 11:30 Saturday night, almost midnight. Alvin Kamara said he was up to 1 o'clock in the morning with the testing.
Yeah.
And then waking up every hour, checking his phone to see if games are going to be called off or not. Michael Burton didn't sleep at all. And, they still played a noon kickoff game. Whereas, like you mentioned, Cam Newton test positive. Now, granted, they had a couple of days in decision. But
when the press release came out and I got the update on it from one of those sports sites, it was exactly 38 minutes before they announced that the game would be postponed.
Right. I mean, how hard would it have been to push it till 3 o'clock? It's not like you're saying you're not playing the game at all and you have to reschedule from Monday night. Just push it off for a few hours. But they didn't. It didn't matter for the Saints. For the Patriots, it mattered. It just
that's because the Patriots have the ultimate NFL politician, I guess.
It was crap. I'm sorry. There was no other way of putting it. And it's going to happen again. And it was a false positive. That was the worst part. It was a false positive. So the way that game started frustrated me enough because I'm already aggravated. They're playing this game. And I said they're going to be sloppy. They're already sloppy because of how they've been playing the first 3 games. They're going to be sloppy. They're going to be tired. They already got 6 people out. This is not going to be a good game. And of course, we are down 14 points before the 5-minute mark, in the first quarter. So, I mean, you and I were texting during the game. I was resigned. I'm like, yeah, that's about right. We're going to end up being 1-3. Tom Brady and the Patriots are going to be all the news. He's now in, look at the conference division he's in now. They thought the NFC South was so tough. Here you got the Atlanta Falcons now 0-4. Carolina probably going to be 1-3. Saints 1-3. What's between the NFC South and the AFC East? That whole, I was waiting for that whole narrative. I was aggravated as crap. And then we got it going. And the 35-point second and third quarters reminded me of the Washington-Denver Super Bowl, which I think was Super Bowl 27. Might have been. No, it can't be 27. It was probably, I think it was 22. 22. Yeah, because it was 1987 that year, but it was Super Bowl 22, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, yeah, that was just a fantastic quarter and a half because the drive that made it 35 took 7 minutes, 8 minutes, almost the whole third quarter. So, And what was your favorite play in that game? Because I have one. But do you have a favorite play in that game?
Uh, I think it would probably be Trey's second touchdown, maybe.
Okay.
Tre-
Yeah.
Traquan.
Yeah. The 20-yarder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a thing of beauty.
I'm glad to see that what we've been calling for all this time, to see the emergence of Traquan,
Mhm.
and that can only be something positive moving forward. Especially,
Absolutely.
and I don't look for um, uh,
Michael Thomas.
yeah, I don't look for him back before we come back from the bye week.
He practiced a little bit during the week. So we'll see if he practices this week. Um, my favorite play in the game, I think, was the 4th and 4 pass that drew through to Alvin Kamara, because that was just that's the kind of play they needed, the kind of play I wanted them to do. And that was also to me, to all the Drew Brees weak arm truther fans, that Drew's going to lay that ball out just the way he's supposed to and hits Kamara in stride. And if Kamara doesn't take it out of bounds, he probably runs it in the end zone.
Yeah,
I mean, he just dropped it right over his shoulder. It was a thing of beauty. It really was. And that was probably that, and the Patrick Robertson interception to me were like the turning points in that game that made that game from a 14-0 deficit to 35-14 in the middle of the third quarter. I
yeah.
mean, those were the best plays. What were your thoughts about the game? I know we talked a little bit about it off the air. One of the things you said was you felt Detroit lost it more than we won it.
Yeah, when you jump out, and it's easy to feel that way when you have a team that comes out and you blink your eyes and you're down 14 points. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it, I've heard some people say that was more of a Detroit loss than it was a New Orleans win, but it'll count on our W. So
Yeah.
I still see some of the same things that we've been talking about and we've been picking on and been bitching about all this time. Our defense is not playing well. Now they kicked it up a notch Sunday, but I'm still not seeing what I would like to see out of this team.
Oh yeah. I cut him a little bit of slack on it because you had 6 starters out, and you lost during the game. You lost Armstead for a few plays. You lost Deontay Harris to a hamstring injury for the rest of the game. I think he got knocked out in the third quarter.
Yeah.
You lost Ryan Ramczyk to a concussion, which kind of gave Detroit the opportunity to get back in the game because we couldn't get a drive going from that point on. Once we put Greenridge on at the right tackle, that was like a swinging door. There was one
Yeah.
play where Brees got sacked, and I'm like, did Darryl Terrell just suddenly come back to this team? Because Darryl Turnstile Terrell, he had to replace, I think it was William Rofe when Rofe got hurt in 2001. And oh my God, he was the worst left tackle I think the Saints have had. And the Saints have had a lot of bad ones. You just could not get anything going. And I was really nervous until they got that first down to end the game
Yeah.
that they that was going to be a problem. So we really need Ramczyk back. But we
Well,
lost him.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we lost him, and I think PJ Williams, I think, went out for a series. Patrick Robertson jammed his fingers, and he had to get him retaped.
Yeah.
So you lost players during the game too. So yeah, it frustrated me that Detroit made it as close as they did, but it's not an excuse, but I can understand how Detroit was able to come back because of the injuries.
Well, I saw a lot of the Las Vegas Raiders game in Sunday, and by that I mean you get a lead and then you watch it evaporate, and you
Yeah.
see them coming back, and you can't help but sit there and think, oh, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Absolutely.
there was, I've told you before, I always try to glean three positive things: win, lose, or draw. Three things to be positive about coming out of that game moving forward. Now, one of the things that I was able to be positive about was the fact that we were able to finish out the game. We did make that first down when we needed to run out the clock. So I'm not going to ever complain about a win. There obviously there's still things that need to be addressed and things that need to be corrected and improved upon, but I mean it's a W that we needed desperately.
Absolutely. Because, 2-2 versus 1-3, that's a huge, huge difference.
And we were
You know,
both wrong, by the way.
yeah, we were.
We were both wrong thinking that Dan Quinn was going to be the first one fired.
No, and I'm surprised he didn't get fired today, honestly.
He got fired yesterday.
No, no,
No,
no.
not no. I'm talking about
Yeah.
O'Brien.
Right. I'm surprised Dan Quinn didn't get fired today after that performance Monday night. Now, granted, they're dealing with injuries too. I get it. But that offense is completely uninspired. And, I watched that game just because I wanted to see if they were going to blow another lead. But I watched that game, and they never even had a chance in that game.
No,
And
they were never in that.
No. And the only thing I was hoping for was at one point it was 20-3 at halftime, and the Packers got the ball to start the third quarter. The Falcons hadn't stopped them. I think they only stopped them one time on a goal line stand. But I was really hoping the Packers would drive down, score a touchdown, and see if they would go for two. Because if they were going to go for two and make it 28-3, I was so saving that picture. But of course, it didn't work out that way. But and that was the only reason I really watched that game. But they were talking about Calvin Ridley. We were talking earlier in previous shows about the Saints not using enough of their weapons. Here they lose Julio Jones. You figure they depend on Calvin Ridley, and it's like after the second quarter, they forgot Calvin Ridley was even on the field. They threw one shot at the end of the game to him, but other than that, that's your best speed receiver. I'm like, man, Atlanta, just give him to us. We could use that.
It's going to be interesting moving forward with the Falcons to see, because that if they fire Quinn, they're going to bring in another coach, and there's a very good realistic possibility that coach is going to do the same thing Gruden did to the Raiders. He's going to strip it down and start over. And that's going to mean that Julio is gone. They'll keep Ridley because they got more invested in him.
Yeah.
But Julio, I fully expect this to be the last year Julio's in Atlanta, even if they keep Quinn.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough balls to go around. And he can say what he wants to the press, but you can watch his body English during the game, and he's not enjoying his work.
He's tired of losing. And they talk about the culture, and this is something that going back to the 2014 to 2016 Saints, especially in 2015, the year we had Brandon Browner. The culture of Atlanta and the culture of Detroit, both those teams, is loser. And when things go wrong, they hang their head and go, here we go again. One of the things I said last week on the show was that, with Detroit, I wasn't worried about them coming back on us more so much that I was like, you have to step on their throat early and make them feel like, here we go again. We're going to lose again. Nothing's working. And you could see that when the Saints got the 35 points, you could see the body language of the Lions players like, yep, here we go. This is how bad we're going to get our asses kicked today. Oh, is it 35 points? They'll score another 4 touchdowns before this game's over with.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's got that mentality right now too. So, you've got players on those teams that aren't losers or like losing, and they're going to want out. So I agree with you. I think Julio is one of the ones that's going to want out.
Well, like I said, I believe that happens regardless of what they do with the head coaching position. I don't see Julio wanting to stay there and share time with Ridley. I really don't.
And that was the thing that Sean Payton emphasized when he got rid of Browner, and we made the turnaround beginning in 2016 as far as clearing out a lot of the bad apples on the roster. And 2017, of course, we got a good draft class. But the decision to draft players that are winners and bring winning attitudes to your locker room, change the culture, make the team a winning philosophy in that locker room.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's, to me, that was the thing that made the difference on the team. And that's why the Saints don't have, but that's why the Saints can come back from being 14 points down, and instead of just going in the tank like, well, we didn't sleep, had the drug COVID drug testing. We had all these things go wrong. This is probably why we're going to lose today. We'll just start 1-3 and try and pick up next week. We have all these injured players and stuff. And no, that's not the kind of people these people are. That's not the kind of team they are.
It's just like we said last week. It doesn't really make any difference at this level who's hurt, who's not. You still got to go out there and you got to win, or else you're going to be home in January.
Yep, exactly. So, and I think that's why you've won so many games, 2017 to 2019, without I had this discussion with somebody earlier. The Saints, and I don't ever want to hear the phrase, is this the most talented team the Saints have ever had on paper? Because I can't stand it. I mean, that's just, it's a load of crap. You prove it on the field. 2011 to me is the most talented team the Saints ever had. Why? Because when they were on the field, they set records. They did it on the field. Until you do it on the field, you're not the most talented team. Don't tell me the most talented team on paper. You've got to prove it out there. So I think that there's still a core of people on this team that they know they're not the most talented team, but they have the attitude, the mindset to win, so they can look like the most talented team. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so people are talking about the fight between the unsportsmanlike conduct between Danny Amendola and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't know what the CCD thing is. I don't know if it's his rap name, what the hell that is, but I'm still going to call him Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Amendola got the flag for unsportsmanlike conduct. Somebody said, I think it was Boat Lawyer on Twitter, said he wants the transcript between Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Amendola, what the hell was said, because he was mad after him. You could still see him on the bench muttering to himself what the hell he must have said to him.
Well, like you said, these guys, they don't like to lose. And when you go from the top of the top, being in Foxborough, and you get exiled into Detroit, that can't be an easy thing to have to live with.
Exactly. Well, I don't know who has the better transcript. I want to hear that one or the one between Golden Tate and Jalen Ramsey, because they got in a big fight in that boring Rams Giants game. That was probably the most exciting part of the whole game. And Jalen Ramsey was waiting outside the locker room for the Giants. He wanted to finish that conversation, and then you find out, I had to research this Jerry Springer trailer park trash situation between the two of them. Evidently, Jalen Ramsey used to date Golden Tate's sister, had kids with her. She might be pregnant with one right now, or what? Just had one. And Jalen Ramsey's now got this new girlfriend that's a stripper, and he's showing her off, and that kind of fed that fight that carried out on the field. So I'm saying, all I was missing was Jerry, and the big bald-headed guy, with his arms folded, ready to break the fight.
You can't make this stuff up.
Oh, no, not at all. So anyway, so for those players, that my attitude is now, for those players that are, that are just junk and they need to be sent to a losing franchise, you can either send them to Atlanta or
take him to Detroit. No, not Detroit. No, please.
Old Kentucky Fried Movie, Fistful of Yen, for those of you who wonder where that came from.
And you can't even send them to Cleveland anymore.
No. Yeah, that's it. Jalen used to date Tate's sister. Yep, exactly. And it's total Jerry Springer stuff. It was hilarious. Yeah, he did put an old school tackle, and that's probably what started the whole thing, was the fight. But that whole thing carried over, so much so he's waiting outside the locker room to finish this thing. So
that's next level.
Yeah. Oh, that's Mid-South Wrestling, WWE, WWF kind of stuff. All right, so they got the penalties down.
Yes, that was my second positive thing that I was going to point out.
Yeah, it's still a lot of yardage because it's still pass interference. You had 6 penalties as opposed to 8 and 10 last time, and the Lions got 5 penalties, so that's about even to me. Yeah. But the Lions got a lot of 5 and 10 yard penalties, with the biggest one being that personal foul, 15 yarder. But your opinion, do you think the 2 pass interference calls against Alexander were justified?
No, I do not. I think they were totally bogus. If you're going to call it that way, call it down the middle. Call it for both sides.
I agree.
And I've seen more egregious bumping and what have you in pregame warmups than what I saw there.
Well, I thought that was just good coverage by Anzalone on the first one, because basically what he did was cut off the route. He got in front of him and cut off the route on I can't think who the receiver was for the Lions now, but he just, as he's trying to come across, he just comes sliding right in front of it and finishes the route for him. So I thought that should have been a no call. And the other one, you're not supposed to touch him 5 yards after the line of scrimmage. But you know how many times I see people do that where they got the one jam down the field and he doesn't even throw him off his route. It's not even a very good jam. It's like a pass off kind of jam. So the official only threw it because he saw the full extension of the arms. But I'm going, really? That's a terrible call. Just if it doesn't throw the guy off his route, just don't throw it. So
yeah, I agree. I didn't agree with either one of those calls.
And I thought that was the bulk of the penalty yardage, honestly, because everything else was just minor stuff. All right. One last thing, big negative in the game, except for the second to last offensive play before the victory formation. Taysom Hill running the RPO. It looks like now that play isn't going to work anymore unless Taysom starts throwing the football again. And he even fumbled one of the snaps. And thank God Alvin Kamara jumped on it.
Well, like we said before, I think it was last week when we were talking about the Taysom Hill RPOs. Everybody in the stadium, including the popcorn vendor on the fifth level, knows when he gets that snap, he's not going to throw it. He's not going to option it off. He's going to run around the end and get what he can get.
Yeah.
You're not varying it enough to fool anybody, which is supposed to be, theoretically, that's supposed to be the premise behind doing it to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He needs to fake the handoff and throw it. Now, the second to last play, I had no problem with it. Granted, he got positive yardage, but you're trying to run out the clock anyway. Taysom Hill has no problem dropping his shoulder and running somebody over. When he doesn't hesitate and he just takes off going, I think he gets a lot of yardage doing that. And he got it to, it was now 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 4 versus 2nd and 9 when he took the snap, or 2nd and 10, because I don't think they got any yards on first down. They might have even lost a yard on first down. So I had no problem him running it at that point because we could not afford to punt that ball. I wanted to run the clock out. They had used all their timeouts, get that first down, get it over with, win it. Calvin brings up a good point. What the hell is wrong with Thomas Morstead? Morstead hardly punted at all until the third, maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter, and he had some pretty bad punts, and he had a bad punt at the end of the Packers game. What do you think's going on over there?
I don't know. The only thing that I can think of is, just the same thing that we've said about the entire team. There's just something that's off kilter about this team right now that needs to be worked out. Everybody that we have of substance, with the possible exception of Alvin Kamara, are not playing up to their capabilities. And I don't know if it's a focus thing. If it's a not being prepared thing, I don't know what it is, but I would say that Morstead probably falls into that as well. But at the same time, there's only one player on this team that is longer tenured than Thomas Morstead, and that's Drew Brees.
Yeah. Well,
they're the last two holdouts from the Super Bowl team that remain on the roster today.
Yeah. And Morstead was a rookie that year. And I think there must be something going on because the Saints kept that punter. So my thing with the Saints, and I said this in week 1, I expected the Saints to be sloppy and not play very well, especially in that first game. But this is the 5th week. We're now technically out of what would be the preseason to me, except the games count.
Yeah.
They're starting to get into that routine again. Granted, COVID throws everything off, but they're starting to get into that routine again. Let's see if players start coming back from injury. We have a bye in 2 weeks. If players start coming back from injury, do we start getting a more consistent and better performance out of these guys? Well,
I'd like to think so. You said, we're now past that point where we would be if these first 4 games were actually preseason. We're to the point now where it's supposed to be cohesion and gelling and stuff like that. So let's see where we go from here.
Marcus Davenport, okay, or as we talked about last week, the Twitter handle for him now is 2first. Marcus 2first Davenport. You know, Avery asked, does Cam get more penetration? I think he does. I think Davenport draws more attention because as much as Hendrickson is busting his ass out there, I think Davenport's just physically more talented, physically bigger, and can push stronger than Hendrickson. Hendrickson's just missing guys by, it's like Don Adams missed it by that much. He's missing it by that much. He's about a half second away from getting that sack on every down, and he's got that one-on-one blocking. I think Davenport's quicker, gets that sack, pushes people faster and stronger. I just don't know what the hell's wrong with his arm. It's an elbow issue. I don't know if he dislocated his elbow and they're just not saying, because injuries and Sean Payton, you get more accurate stuff out of the Kremlin and the old Soviet Union than you do Payton when it comes to that stuff. I just think that takes the pressure off of Cam, because Cam Jordan's is still starting out slowly, and I think Hendrickson can come in there on passing downs to spell Davenport or let Davenport kick to the inside, and get more of a push, and you're getting with Rankins and Brown right now. I think that all makes a defensive line better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, Calvin. When Davenport's on the field, he's top 5 in the elite in providing pressure, and that's key, especially on those bootlegs. I don't think they pull those bootlegs off because they run a lot of the bootlegs away from Cam Jordan, and I think with Davenport on that side, they're less likely to run those things. And the bootlegs, that's the linebackers over pursuing. Bond made an appearance on special teams. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, Bond actually made an appearance on special teams for the first time this season in Detroit. I don't know if that means anything as far as him getting time as a linebacker soon or what, but they really need somebody on that strong side, especially because they run these bootlegs against us.
So what do you know about this new kid for the Chargers, the quarterback?
Justin Herbert?
Yeah.
He was my favorite quarterback coming out of second favorite quarterback. My favorite was Tua, but my second favorite quarterback coming out of the draft, Joe Burrow, just put that out your head, because that was going to Cincinnati no matter what. I'm just talking about as far as the Saints trading up to go get a guy.
Yeah.
Tua and Herbert were my two favorites to trade up to go get. The guy's got a cannon of an arm. He's a rookie. So Lattimore, if he comes back to play Monday night, he better act like he's covering Julio or Mike Evans or someone like that, because he's going to get opportunities to pick off passes, but only if he plays like he's shutting somebody down. And the same with Jenkins. I think they'll get opportunities to jump those passing routes, because Herbert's going to put the ball out there, especially because they lost their running back. They lost their starting running back. So I think it's going to be – they're going to look at the film against the Packers, and they're going to run bootlegs, and they're going to run a moving pocket to try and get Herbert those one-on-one matchups where he can just gun that ball, or get the defensive – linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks to turn their backs to him, and he's going to run for yardage. I think
Yeah.
that's the issue. That's what you have to watch out for.
I agree.
Uh,
This isn't going to be a pushover.
no, not at all. I mean, they're beatable, very beatable. And Drew Brees, he hasn't played in San Diego or Los Angeles. He's never played in Los Angeles for the Chargers, but he hasn't played in San Diego for 15 years. But when he faces the Chargers, it's always, I'm going to show you. I got to
Yeah.
show you, and I'm not worried about Drew Brees. I'm worried about the defense and the pass rush and the ability, because he's a young quarterback who's going to run. He's going to be hard to bring down. So you really got to make him make mistakes so you can win this ball game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Keenan Allen's a top 5 receiver. So Lattimore should be paying attention. And I think that game against the Bucs would give the Saints a lot of footage to look at as far as the passing game.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No. It's about time to go make the donuts.
I hear you, man. I hear you. All right, real quick.
One of these days, I'm gonna do a walkthrough in here so I can introduce everybody to this beautiful restaurant where I work.
Okay.
There's Burrow jerseys on the wall. As you know, Kevo is a devout Bengals fan.
Yeah.
And that was before Joe Burrow. But this is a magnificent place, man. There's been a lot of time and effort and energy that's gone into making this place what it is. And once again, I tell everyone, if you have the opportunity to come by here, it'll be the very best barbecue that you've ever eaten in your life.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to have to come up there one day and try this stuff.
Yeah, you and Bob. I've gone to New Orleans now 3 times to meet you and Bob. Y'all need to come.
Well, it's a little bit quicker for me than it is Bob. But I've got.
Well, yeah.
Every time I think I've got a free weekend, a friggin' hurricane is in the Gulf. We got another one. Yeah, we got another one. Delta that's supposed to come.
Della.
No, not Della. Delta.
Delta.
Yeah, they're
Della.
No, they're in the. They're into the Greek letters now because they've gone through all the names. So we have Alpha, Beta, I think Gamma, it just fell apart. So now you have Delta. Theta comes with.
That scares me because Delta Airlines originated right over there at our airport.
Yep.
And that magnetic draw, oh man.
Well, I told my wife, I said, Theta comes with its own keg. So, because we're now getting to the Greek letters, we're in the Greek alphabet. Delta House, Delta House, they're on double secret probation. It's shifting west, more and more west each time I see it. So it looks, unfortunately, like it's going to take the same path that Laura did last month. And that would be Lake Charles, Sabine River, Beaumont area. So that's the harbor. Okay, it's Two Dudes Barbecue.
Two Dudes Brew and Q.
Two Dudes Brew and Q. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
located at 436 Desire Street on the corner of Hall and Desire.
Gotcha. Because Calvin wants to go over there next time he's in the area. So
all right. Come on, bro.
But the storm is supposed to make landfall, depending on the models, either Friday, late Friday night, early Saturday morning, or maybe Saturday afternoon. Just depends on which. They'll know more by Thursday. Right now, it's going to go over Cozumel and the Yucatan Peninsula is a Category 4.
Ooh.
But it's supposed to lose strength because the Gulf waters, we've had 2 cool fronts come through already. The Gulf surface temperatures on the eastern side of the Gulf are in the 70s, but on the western side, near Mexico and Texas, it's warmer. So if it keeps moving west, this is how the weatherman put it this morning, tonight. It's almost like it's looking for the warmer waters to stay strong, but it may come ashore as a Category 3, maybe, or it could weaken to a 2. They just don't know yet, depending on how far west it travels. So
any of our people that are in the path of the storm, y'all please exercise caution.
Yeah.
Do whatever it is that you do that makes it safest for you and your family. And
yeah, right now the cone of uncertainty includes the Lafayette area, almost like it's going to go up Vermilion Bay, but it does keep moving west. So they're curious to see where it comes out on the other side of the Yucatan Peninsula and where it goes from there. So that's the speculation, is anywhere from New Iberia to Lake Charles, Sabine, Cameron, Beaumont area. That group right there. So it's scary. It really is.
yeah.
And unfortunately, if it's that area, that's the same people got hit by Laura. So that's almost not fair. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I think we win against the Chargers. I think Brees plays great. I would not be surprised to see Michael Thomas show up, but if he doesn't, I think we've finally got it down with Emmanuel Sanders, Traquan Smith. I think we're seeing the passing game coming along. I expect Ramczyk to play because I don't think he had a bad concussion, but we won't know if he's out of the protocol until Friday. And we'll see who shows up on defense.
Yeah.
What defense shows up. That's the key. I'm aggravated as the hell out of, with Malcolm Jenkins, because Jenkins was supposed to straighten out all the communication issues we've been having. And it's almost like watching 2015 all over again, with some of the blown coverages they're doing. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.